Have you ever felt like there's something invisible surrounding you? Something that can't be measured, yet somehow influences you? Maybe you call it energy, maybe luck, or maybe coincidence. But what if none of it is random? What if there's an ancient, hidden, intentional code behind the reality you live in? You didn't learn this in school, it's not on the news, but it's there, hidden in symbols, manuscripts, forgotten practices, and legends passed down through the centuries. In this video, you'll dive deep into the occultism iceberg, and with each layer, you'll uncover what's really behind the curtain, from the best-selling law of attraction to secret experiments, dark rituals, and theories claiming that nothing is real except the mind. If you think this is just cheap mysticism, wait until you see what lies beneath. From now on, nothing is superficial, and everything might be connected. Layer 1. The Akashic Records. Imagine if everything that has ever happened, every word spoken, every thought conceived, every emotion felt, was recorded somewhere, not in a book, not in a physical database, but in an invisible library, a cosmic memory, floating in a realm no one can see, yet some claim they can access. This is the concept of the Akashic Records, and the strangest part, many believe it's absolutely real. So what exactly are the Akashic Records? According to esoteric traditions, the Akashic Records are like the universe's original Google long before the internet. A spiritual database where every action, decision, and event is logged from the beginning of time to the end, literally everything. The word Akashic comes from the Sanskrit Akasha, meaning ether or sky. In occult philosophy, it's seen as the fifth element, a subtle substance that connects all things. But this isn't some digital cloud. It's a mystical one accessed through altered states of consciousness by clairvoyants, mediums, and according to them, even evolved souls. The first to bring this idea into Western awareness was Helena Blavatsky, founder of the Theosophical Society in the 19th century. She spoke of indestructible tablets of astral light that recorded both past and future. But the term Akashic Records became popular through authors like Alfred Sinnett and later Edgar Cayce, a 20th century American psychic who claimed to read directly from these records while in a trance. According to Cayce, he accessed spiritual and medical information about his clients, as if he were literally reading their life histories from a kind of cosmic file. The idea behind the Akashic Records is that they don't exist in a fixed place, but in a vibrational frequency, and to access them, a person must shift their state of consciousness through deep meditation, hypnosis, astral projection, or specific esoteric practices. It's like tuning into a radio station, only the station is the record of the human soul, and your mind is the receiver. But there's a crucial detail: not just anyone can access it. It takes training, discipline, and, according to some traditions, a kind of spiritual clearance. Now think about it. If these records really exist, what does that mean? It means there's no such thing as forgetting, no such thing as a secret, that every single thought you've ever had is recorded somewhere in the universe, an infinite memory of the cosmos. Some spiritualists claim that when a person dies, their soul revisits the Akashic records of their life, a full, uncut movie of everything they've experienced. Others say it's possible to glimpse past lives, alternate timelines, even potential futures. In the end, no one can prove the Akashic records exist. But then again, no one can prove they don't. What we do know is that the idea is still alive, and more popular than ever. Whether in holistic therapy, pop culture, or discussions about spiritual awakening. Because deep down, there's something both comforting and terrifying about imagining that nothing is ever truly lost, not even the things we try hardest to forget. The law of attraction. But if the Akashic records are an invisible library where everything is already written, there are also those who believe the opposite, that reality isn't written, that we're the ones writing it, thought by thought. And this is where the idea comes in, that the mind shapes the world. In the early 2000s, a book emerged claiming to be a shortcut for transforming your life. All you had to do was think positively, visualize what you wanted, and let the universe take care of the rest. The name, the secret. And its message was simple: you attract whatever you believe in. But what looked like a modern philosophy of personal success was actually a polished package of occultist ideas that had been circulating for over a century. Think it, believe it, receive it. That's the foundation of what's called the law of attraction. The idea that the universe responds to your emotions and intentions. If you focus on scarcity, you attract scarcity. If you radiate gratitude, you attract abundance. For many, this sounds like positivity on steroids, but for others, it's literally magic. After all, what is a spell if not the channeling of energy through focused intent? What are daily affirmations if not modern mantras? The world of The Secret speaks of vibrating at the right frequency, of visualizing your desires, of feeling as if it's already happened. Concepts that, stripped of their self-help packaging, have always been part of esoteric schools of thought. So where did it all begin? The law of attraction has deep roots in Hermeticism, Theosophy, and the New Thought movement, which emerged in the late 19th century. Writers like William Atkinson, Napoleon Hill, and even Blavatsky spoke of the mind as a creative tool. That thought is energy, and that reality can be shaped through focus and belief. What The Secret did was give all of that a new language. It removed the incense, swapped out the grimoires for a bestseller cover, and sealed it with a wax stamp labeled Secret. Simple, direct, and marketable. And that's where the problem begins. If everything that happens to you is a result of your vibration, does that include accidents, illnesses, and tragedies too? The idea that everything can be attracted by the mind seems empowering until it isn't. And then comes the paradox: what if the universe doesn't deliver? Was it a lack of faith, the wrong vibration, or maybe life is just more complex than that? Still, it's almost impossible to ignore. Despite all the criticism, the law of attraction has become part of pop culture. The idea of manifesting has turned into a common verb online. Influencers create vision boards like modern-day altars, and millions genuinely believe that to think is to create. Maybe because the idea, controversial as it is undeniably seductive. Maybe because in a chaotic world, believing we have some control offers a strange kind of comfort. While some people believe they can attract their desires, others are more interested in attracting something else: spirits. And for that, there's a tool that's as simple as it is unsettling, sold in toy stores, featured in horror films, and for many, a gateway to the unknown. Yes, we're talking about it, the Ouija board. It's strange to think that one of the most iconic objects tied to the occult is also sold by Hasbro, the same company behind Monopoly and Twister. But the Ouija board didn't start out as a toy, and definitely not as a joke. The Ouija emerged in the late 19th century during the height of the spiritualist movement in the United States. It was a time when seances were in vogue. Ordinary people gathered in parlors to try and speak with loved ones on the other side. It was in this context that two entrepreneurs, Elijah Bond and Charles Kennard, patented the board as a parlor game. And in 1891, the Ouija board was officially released to the public. But unlike other games, this one had no winner. Its purpose was singular: ask questions and wait for answers. The board is simple. All the letters of the alphabet, numbers 0 through 9, the words yes, no, and goodbye. The participants place their fingers lightly on a pointer, the planchette, ask a question, and wait for it to move on its own, spelling out the answer. The experience is quiet, intense, and often unsettling. According to spiritualists, the Ouija board acts as a channel to the astral plane, a kind of telephone between worlds. The catch? You never know who's going to answer. Some people report simple messages, names, dates. Others say they've spoken to deceased relatives. And then there are those who claim the board opened a door to something much darker. But what does science say? From a psychological standpoint, the movement of the planchette can be explained by the ideomotor effect. Tiny, unconscious muscle movements steer the pointer without the participants realizing it. In other words, it's the group moving the planchette. Just not on purpose, but honestly, that almost makes it even creepier, because if it's not spirits, then who's answering? The collective subconscious? A repressed part of the mind? Or something that thrives in the empty space? Today, the Ouija board is sold as a cardboard toy on store shelves. But to many occultists, it's still a genuine tool of invocation and should never be used without proper protection or knowledge. Because the real danger was never the board itself. It's what might answer when someone dares to ask. Layer 2. So far, we've been sailing the more familiar waters of occultism, popularized ideas, rebranded in the language of self-help or pop culture. But from this point on, the depth changes, because now we're entering a level beneath the surface, where concepts stop being merely spiritual and start revealing something much older, more structural. If the previous layer was about desire and invocation, Layer 2 introduces the hidden code that organizes the universe itself. The Kybalion, the 7 Laws of Modern Hermeticism. Published in 1908 by anonymous authors under the name The Three Initiates, the Kybalion is, to many occultists, a true instruction manual for reality, a guide to understanding how the universe really works, beyond matter, beyond religion, beyond illusion. But here's the catch. Though the book claims to be a study of Hermetic philosophy from ancient Egypt, there's nothing Egyptian about it. The Kybalion is modern, but it speaks as if it were ancient, and maybe that's part of its mystique. The text revolves around 7 universal laws, attributed to the legendary figure Hermes Trismegistus. These laws aren't dogmas, they're axioms, principles that, according to the book, apply to everything that exists. From physics to the mind, from spirit to matter, here they are. Mentalism, the all is mind. Everything that exists is, above all, thought. The universe is a mental projection of a supreme consciousness. Correspondence, as above, so below. The micro reflects the macro. What happens in the spiritual realm mirrors the physical world, and vice versa. Vibration, nothing rests. Everything moves. Everything vibrates. All existence, emotions, matter, even thought, is vibration at different frequencies. Polarity, everything is dual. Hot and cold, light and dark, love and hate, opposites are simply extremes of the same thing. The secret lies in learning to shift between poles. Rhythm. Everything flows out and in. Life is cyclical. The pendulum swings, tides rise and fall. Even the mind has its rhythm. Cause and effect. Nothing escapes the law. Nothing happens by chance. Every action has a reaction. And if you're not the cause, you're the effect. Gender. Gender is in everything. Masculine and feminine are not just physical traits. They are creative forces present in all things. Manifestation arises from the balance between them. At first glance, these principles may sound like spiritual poetry, but many of them anticipate scientific concepts: vibration, polarity, rhythm. Others connect with psychology, quantum physics, even information theory. But to occultists, the value of the Kybalion lies in something deeper. The idea that if you understand and consciously apply these principles, you become a co-creator of reality. You stop being swept away by the cycles and start navigating them. But where did all of this come from? Despite referencing Hermes Trismegistus, the Kybalion is not an ancient text. Researchers believe it was written by William Walker Atkinson, an American occultist who is also a pioneer of the New Thought movement. In other words, it's a modern fusion of Hermeticism, theosophy, alchemy, Kabbalah, and psychology, condensed into a short book, written in almost biblical language, filled with phrases that read like riddles. And yet, or maybe because of that, Its spread. You might be wondering, why did the Kybalion become so influential? And the answer is simple. Because it offers something neither religion nor science can truly promise: a map to navigate the invisible, and better yet, a practical one. Want to change your reality? Work with the principle of mentalism. Want to understand recurring patterns? Observe rhythm? Want to neutralize negative emotions? Apply polarity. Want to control your own destiny? Become the cause, not the effect. In the end, the Kybalion is like a source code, simple on the surface, but layered, revealing itself only to those who truly read and practice. Today, the Kybalion circulates freely as a PDF, appears in TikTok videos, esoteric podcasts, and even manifestation playlists. But to those who look closer, it's more than a text. It's a key. And like any key, the real question is, do you know what it opens? After the Kybalion, we begin to understand that the universe may be governed by invisible laws. But what if those laws were already recorded centuries ago? What if there existed a collection of secret texts that survived empires, religions, and wars, and became the foundation of occultism as we know it? Corpus Hermeticum, the manuscripts of divine knowledge. Before the Kybalion, and even before Christianity spread across Europe, there existed a body of esoteric teachings attributed to a mythical figure, Hermes Trismegistus, a fusion of the Egyptian god Thoth and the Greek god Hermes. The result of this fusion, a lineage of wisdom known as Hermeticism. And the central legacy of this tradition is found in a collection of writings called the Corpus Hermeticum, composed between the 1st and 3rd centuries AD, right in Alexandria, the meeting point of Egypt, Greece, Rome, and the mystical schools of the East. The Hermetic treatises are written as dialogues, usually between Hermes and a higher intelligence known as Nous. They explore themes such as the origin of the universe, the role of the human soul, planetary hierarchies, spiritual awakening through gnosis. In one of its most famous passages, Hermes has a vision of the creation of the cosmos and understands that everything is interconnected: man, the heavens, matter, and spirit. During the Renaissance, these texts were brought from the East to Europe. Cosimo de' Medici, in Florence, ordered translator Marsilio Ficino to stop translating Plato and focus on Hermes instead. That says a lot about their impact. For a time, it was believed that Hermeticism was older than Moses. Only later was it discovered that the texts came from the Greco-Roman era, but by then their influence had already taken root. Magicians, alchemists, Rosicrucians, and Freemasons adopted the Corpus Hermeticum as esoteric scripture, a kind of code about the invisible structure of reality. Sigil magic, the secret art of coding desire. Now imagine that instead of making a wish to the universe, you could encode that wish into a symbol, charge it with energy, and then forget it. That's the core idea behind sigil magic, and the name behind it, Austin Osman Spare. Spare was a British surrealist artist born in 1886 who moved between the worlds of art and occultism. He believed the unconscious mind was the true source of magical power, and that the conscious, rational mind only got in the way, so he developed a method to bypass that mental censorship. But how does a sigil work? First, you write out a desire. Something like, I want to be brave. Then you remove the vowels and any repeating letters. You combine the remaining letters into an abstract symbol. You visualize this symbol in an altered state of consciousness. Then you forget it and release it. The sigil then works in your subconscious, like a seed planted in fertile soil. Simple, direct, and deeply personal. But why is this so powerful? Because it doesn't rely on belief in gods, spirits, or dogma. It's just you and yourself. And that set the stage for a new kind of magic, more anarchic, more free, more chaotic. Tulpas, the power to create a consciousness with your mind. Imagine creating an imaginary friend with such intensity that it starts thinking on its own. We're no longer talking about symbolic ideas. We're talking about artificial consciousness, created by the human mind. That's the idea behind Tulpas. The term comes from the Tibetan Sprulpa and is linked to advanced meditation practices where monks were said to manifest illusory bodies through concentrated visualization, but the concept reached the West in 1929 with Alexandre David Néel, a French explorer who claimed to have created a bumbling monk through her meditations, and later found herself unable to control the creature. Today the phenomenon has exploded online. There are entire forums of tulpamancers, people who claim to have created tulpas that live alongside them in their minds, entities with their own voices, musical tastes, even personal opinions. Some see it as a spiritual practice, others as a therapeutic tool. To science, it's active imagination. To occultists, it's pure mental magic. Tulpas force us to ask, where does the imaginary end and the real begin? If something can think, isn't that real enough? And perhaps more importantly, what else can the mind create if properly trained? Layer 3. In the previous layers, we explored practices, beliefs, and esoteric systems, but now, the stage shifts. We move away from what it is and dive into who's behind it. Because according to some theories, occultism isn't just a personal quest. It's a tool of power, and certain hands may have been using it in secret for centuries. From this point on, the coincidences become too strange to ignore, and the symbolism starts appearing where you least expect it. The Saturn cult, worship of the Lord of Time. To the ancients, Saturn was the god of the harvest, of time, and of discipline. But he also symbolized decay, castration, and the death that precedes creation. In modern esotericism, Saturn represents boundaries, karma, and hidden structures. But according to some conspiracy theories, it goes much further. There's the idea that a secret Saturnian brotherhood controls the world, a cult that transcends religions, governments, and corporations, leaving clues behind in the form of symbols. One of the most frequently cited icons is the black cube, supposedly linked to Saturn through the hexagonal storm observed at its North Pole, captured by NASA, the Kaaba in Mecca, the 9/11 Memorial in New York, corporate logos featuring cubes, rings, or hexagrams. According to proponents of the theory, all of these are fragments of a disguised cult, one that worships Saturn as the true hidden god behind institutional religion. Some even connect Saturn with Satan, not just due to the phonetic similarity, but also through associations with sacrifice, control, and the inversion of values. It may sound like a stretch, but the more you look, the more symbols appear. And as one Reddit conspiracist once said, if everything is a coincidence, then the pattern is the coincidence. The black sun, the sun that never shines. At the center of the North Tower of Wewelsburg Castle in Germany, there's a circular mosaic with 12 rune-like spokes. This symbol became known as the Black Sun, and has since become one of the darkest emblems in modern occultism. But here's the most disturbing part. That castle served as the ritual headquarters of the Nazi SS, led by Heinrich Himmler. So, what does the Black Sun represent? Officially, there was no mention of the Black Sun during the Third Reich. The name and its interpretation only emerged after the war, within esoteric neo-Nazi circles. According to these groups, the Black Sun is a kind of underground mystical energy source, the antithesis of the visible sun, and a symbol of the rebirth of the Aryan race. The symbol was adopted by extremist occultist groups like the Vril Society and the so-called Thule Gesellschaft. Ideas such as Hyperboreans living at the center of the Earth, Nazi flying saucers, Black Sun energy powering hidden civilizations in the South Pole, all gained traction in the post-war era, merging into a web of conspiracy theories, science fiction, and even role-playing games. Today, the symbol is associated with neo-Nazi movements, Aryan occultism, and esoteric reconstructions of the Reich. It appears on flags, tattoos, and, tragically, at real-world events. The Nine Unknown Men, the secret society of Emperor Ashoka. Now we journey from Europe to India, specifically to the 3rd century BCE. After witnessing the brutality of the Kalinga War, Emperor Ashoka is said to have founded, according to legend, a secret society of 9 wise men. Each of them was entrusted with a book of knowledge so powerful it could never fall into the wrong hands. The legend claims these 9 men never died. They were replaced, generation after generation, preserving hidden knowledge, far from wars, governments, or religions. Some speculate that figures like Jagadish Bose, APJ Abdul Kalam, or even Nikola Tesla may have encountered fragments of this knowledge. The story of the 9 unknown men may just be an ancient legend, or maybe it's a reminder that forbidden knowledge exists, kept far from the masses, accessible only to those who know where and how to look. But that's the pattern we've seen throughout this entire journey. Invisible records, laws that shape reality, disguised rituals, denied technologies, orders that officially never existed. The real question isn't, is this true? It's, why have these stories existed for so long and never disappeared? Occultism is everywhere, disguised as self-help, hidden in architecture, encoded in symbols you see every day without even noticing. Maybe you believe in all of it, maybe in none of it, but if you've made it this far, it's because you feel there's more than what we've been told. And for that reason alone, you're already one level below the surface. In the end, every secret carries an invitation: decipher me, or be guided by those who already have. Thank you for watching. We'll meet again when the next veil falls.